Good morning, traders. I am Emily Vani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Monday, September 8th. Wall Street is coming off a losing session Friday following a weaker than expected jobs report that fueled worry of economic woes, which outweighed the boost in optimism for an upcoming rate cut from the Fed. All the major indices ended in the red after early morning session record highs. The Dow gave up 220 points, or about 0.5%. The S&P 500 shed 20 points, or 0.32%. The Nasdaq lost just 7 points, or 0.03%. But let's get into a new week and Monday with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Hi, yes, good morning, Emily. I'm watching the S&Ps. We're up 0.21%, 0.2%. That's positive. I gotta like that. I mean, the reason why, markets rallying right now is because, that latest payrolls data, which came in Friday, that 22K number was really weak. And remember, market was expecting like a 75K reading. And instead it came in at 22, which was extremely weak. And, that kind of increased the odds of a 50 basis point cut at next week's Fed meeting. But there are some, there's a lot to talk about on the John numbers front, because tomorrow the BLS will be announcing its revisions to the payroll data for the period of April 2024 to March of 2025. That is expected to, be weak as well. And then, but you do have the inflationary reports coming up this week, the PPI and the CPI. That could keep, derail the odds of a 50 basis point cut happening next week at next week's Fed meeting. Now, they'll probably stick with 25, but they'll probably do 25 basis point cuts this year, which is more than what they were expecting, a few months ago when they were, when the latest dot plot, when they were saying 250 basis point cuts in 2025. President Trump, he's going to be meeting with a bunch of EU officials, this week, maybe today or tomorrow. And it's really, the discussions are focusing on how to end the Ukraine-Russia war. I mean, they're likely going to be talking about sanctions. They're going to be talking about EU energy policies. And, we could wind up seeing some additional sanctions on Russian oil. So we got to keep an eye out for that meeting. And then yesterday, Treasury Secretary Sec Bessent was on the TV stations. And, he came out and he said he's very confident that the tariffs will be upheld by the Supreme Court. We'll see. It's a busy week this week of sell-side conferences. I mean, you got the Goldman Communacopia conference and tech event. You have Morgan Stanley's healthcare conference. You get Barclays financial conference. And they're all going to be having top executives from the industry sharing their, market outlook. So, they could be, create some movement in specific stocks in those sectors. AppLovin, Robinhood, Emerson, they're all being added to the S&P 500. That came out Friday afternoon. After the bell today, you can get earnings from CASY's General Store, ticker CASY. Later this week, we get earnings from Oracle, Synopsys, GameStop, CHWY, RH, Kroger, and Adobe, because they're all scheduled for release. We're kind of taking a look over at Europe and see what's happening with the European markets this morning. We are showing gains. We get the DAX up about half of 1%, 0.49%, or 114.99 points. I mean, the momentum really is due to optimism in the manufacturing sector following the first monthly rise in German industrial productivity in July. It was up 1.3%. I mean, after 4 consecutive losing reports, that's nice to see. The FTSE's up 5 points, or 0.05%, supported by gains in retail and oil sectors. In France, France is up 0.46%. With strength coming in oil and luxury sectors and easing bond yield concerns. Remember, France has French politics are really in focus because they got that confidence vote scheduled for today in France. It's pretty much priced in, I think. When we're turning over to Asia, we're looking at the Nikkei. The Nikkei jumped 1.45%. I mean, it was driven by political shifts and economic optimism. Remember, the Japanese prime minister said he's going to resign. And on the economic side, Japan's second quarter GDP growth was revised higher. on both the annualized and quarterly terms. So that kind of helped to push the market higher. And then you look at Hong Kong, the Hang Seng finished higher by 215 points or 0.85% with gains in tech and property stocks. Sentiment there is really being boosted by expectations of a Fed rate cut. And then you get Hong Kong, then you get the Shanghai market finished higher by 0.38% with gains in energy, battery, financial stocks, all trading higher. Then we turn over to oil, and oil is up. Oil is up, about 1.75% this morning. You get WTI at $62.96. You get Brent at $66.67. I mean, OPEC announced 137 barrel per day production height. Now that's much smaller than what came out over the last 4 months. So that's kind of viewed as a positive. And then you look at the Trump and EU talks that are happening this week that could focus on sanctions on Russia. That would look to kind of push oil prices higher. So yeah, that's why we're seeing gains in oil this morning. And that's what I have for you in terms of a morning market update report, Emily.
Bill, it seems like last week we sort of eased into September, but now we're full steam ahead. A wide range of news and data and information to be watching, as you pointed out here in your opening. Everything from political news to corporate news to earnings action, and of course, a number of things on the economic front. And today and throughout the week, we're going to dive into the details and give you each day what you need to be watching to stay ahead of market movement. On this Monday, we will start here with earnings action. Let's dive in. Bill, what is going on there?
We're going to start off with Planet Labs. That's ticker PL, Paul Larry. They beat by a penny. They did it on higher revenue. Stocks up 8% this morning, 8.88%. That's kind of positive. After the bell today, you got CASY General Stores, ticker CASY, Charlie Apple, Sam Yellow. Their EPS is $5.01. The expected move is 7.62%. Put volume is very heavy on Friday. But that's really what I have for you in terms of earnings action, Emily.
Bill, you did mention a few other companies that will be reporting throughout the week, so we will pick up here when it comes to information on the earnings front. Same thing with economic events. We are starting off a little slow on this Monday, but some key data coming out the week, as you did already mention. Let's get there. Bill, what is going on in terms of the day's economic events?
Well, it's a little light today. I mean, the main thing that's coming out is at 3 p.m. when we get the consumer credit numbers for July. But I mean, I'm really tomorrow's BLS numbers are really going to be important. I mean, this is the annual revision, April 2024 to March of 2025, and the annual adjustment. It looks like it's going to go lower because expectations are for the adjustment range between 450,000 to 750,000 downward job growth. So that could impact markets tomorrow when that number comes out. So that's going to be the key one for tomorrow. But today, consumer credit for July, that's the key economic data point that's occurring today, Emily.
Bill, as we did learn on Friday, those jobs numbers can certainly be market moving, especially as people sift through and dive into the details when it comes to that data. And good news for you, you have that data as it hits the tape. So you're not trailing behind everyone trying to sift through, find it that, post publishing, because you have a professional news wire and you're gathering that information as it hits the tape. You're getting these details so you can read it and get through it quickly. As we can hear, you're following earnings action, of course, those economic events. You'll get those BLS numbers as they hit the tape tomorrow, but you're also getting other data, news, and information as it hits the tape, not trailing behind markets, but staying ahead. You're looking at things like merger news, guidance news, shareholders meetings, buyback news, and catalyst calls, looking at your stocks grouped together like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks. So Bill, what else do you see as possibly moving the markets today?
Doing a quick data check. I'm looking at my Dow stocks. I got 20 higher, 3 unchanged, and 7 lower. That's positive. I'm looking at my FANG stocks. I'm showing green across the board. That bodes well for a higher opening. So, you're looking at some of the news behind the tape, and you got to start off with Amazon because news came out that on October 1st, Amazon's going to end the sharing of Prime accounts for free shipping. So apparently people are using, one account. They allow their kids to use it. They allow, their neighbors to use it, whatever. So it's one account. But, they want to increase that account, and it will work because they're going to end that free sharing of Prime accounts. And that's really going to help subscriptions for Amazon. looking at Google and Google and Amazon, they're back in that anthropotic, and those guys those guys agreed to pay $1.5 billion to settle a lawsuit from a group of authors who accused the AI company of using their books to train AI chatbots without permission. Looking at Tesla, listen, BMW and Mercedes, they announced and they revealed new luxury SUVs. That's going to be challenging because those guys have very strong marketing capabilities, and they could really put a dent into Tesla sales in the upcoming quarters. So upcoming couple of quarters with these new electric SUV releases. Then you're talking Dow Jones 30 stocks. You got to start off with Apple because they got that big product event that's scheduled for tomorrow where they're going to release the new iPhone and probably something on AirPods, and we'll see what other new products. But the street is very high on it. Apple is just trading fractionally higher this morning. Microsoft OpenAI believes spending through spending through 2029 may increase to 115 billion. That's huge. Chevron, we're seeing a big move in Chevron this morning. It's up 0.5%. Because of the OPEC and ahead of the Trump meeting with EU officials. UNH is the big winner though this morning. That's up 1.45%. In terms of merger news, we've got to talk PNC because they're acquiring a Colorado-based regional bank in a $4.1 billion deal. We're talking guidance news. United Healthcare to reaffirm their 2025 guidance outlook of at least $16 a share. That's why you see the stock trading higher this morning, up 1.44%. Planet Labs, ticker PL, they see Q3 revenue coming in 71 million to 74 million. Street estimate was 68.86 million. That's why it's trading higher. We're talking shareholders meetings today. We're talking Decker Outdoors, ticker DECK. They're having a shareholders meeting today at 3 p.m. And listen, that Goldman conference is going on today. NVIDIA, Netflix, MasterCard, Uber, Visa, Verizon, and Intel, they're all scheduled to make presentations at the Goldman conference today. Lilly, Bristol Myers, Merck, Medtronic, they're all presented at the Morgan Stanley Healthcare Conference today. Those are the stocks to keep an eye on. In terms of catalyst calls, LRCX, that's Lam Research, they got added to the Citibank 30-day upside catalyst watch. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, Robinhood, HOOD, Emerson, and AppLovin, ticker APP were all added to the S&P 500. I think that starts next week. But that's what I have for you in terms of news hitting the tape this morning, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now and sign up for the trial and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. We've now made it to that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. First full week in September. It's Monday. We're kicking off a new week. Bill, what is your pick of the day today?
SailPoint Technologies, ticker SAIL, Sam, Apple, India, Larry. Earnings are due out tomorrow morning. Now, the EPS is 4 cents, and the expected move is 14.42%. Take a look at Friday's call volume. 3,835 calls versus 534 puts. Wow. Open interest, 8.5 thousand versus 3.1 thousand. Wow. Major brokers are positive in the stock, raising price targets. Remember, they guided to 4 to 5 cents last quarter, so 5 cents isn't crazy to expect. And that call volume is really strong. Me, I want to get in 22 or under. I'm thinking 21.75. But I do like SailPoint on an earnings play, ticker SAIL, and that's my pick of the day. SailPoint, SAIL, Emily.
SailPoint, it is today. We will follow that one along with you on an earnings play. Now, Friday's pick of the day wasn't an earnings play, but in just a moment, we will do a recap on that to see how that went. So stick with us. But first, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our Hot Off the Press segment. Bill, take it away.
Okay, let's see what we got here today. Elon Musk, the $1 trillion pay package is no joke. Dick's Sporting Goods completes acquisition of Foot Locker. SiriusXM, SIRI, Howard Stern renews after trolling viewers with gag that Andy Cohen has taken over his slot. EchoStar to sell AWS-4 H-Block spectrum licenses to SpaceX for $17 billion. Israel accepts Trump's Gaza ceasefire proposal. Kenview, KVUE. The recent weakness is due to, like some comments about HHS speculation between a link or a possible link between the use of Tylenol and autism. I don't put much credence in that. But Kenview really sold off. I think the sell-off is overdone. Tesla's market share in the U.S. drops to its lowest since 2017 as competition heats up. Yeah, that's to be expected. U.S. FDA to fast-track nicotine pouch reviews amid White House pressure. Ohio to tighten oversight of weight loss copies by limiting inventory. That's all I'm saying this morning.
Okay, Bill, before we dive into a new week of trading, let's take a look back on Friday and your pick of the day, which was Oracle. Now, I did catch a number of price target raises on the stock coming across the tape this morning from the likes of Morgan Stanley and Barclays. On Friday, the stock did rally more than 4% and did outperform its peers, and they are set to report earnings this week. You did make that note back in your opening, and analysts are hoping for a boost here, and that from AI. Bill, the stock is up this morning. It was up on Friday, and if you recall, things really fell apart after the morning, but this one was in the green and still in the green. How did your call work out?
Yeah, Oracle just worked out fabulous. It really did. I mean, the stock opened up at $232 and closed at $232.80, which, okay, so what? But, and like I made my call before that non-farm payroll report, and I was talking about an entry price of $225.50. Because I knew that non-farms payroll report, it was going to come in weak. And if it comes in weak, the initial reaction is going to push that stock price down. And sure enough, it did, because the stock price fell down to $225.13. That was below my entry price. And then it rallied and it opened up at $232.55 and it closed at $232.80. If that's not good enough, you look at the stock today, it's up over $6 to $238, up 2.66%. So, yeah, whether you got in at the opening price or you were able to take advantage of the price I was at my price that I was talking about, you made money. And Oracle, the earnings haven't even hit yet, so we're playing the run up into earnings because Oracle's a scary one to play on earnings. You never know. A lot of things. Sometimes it has a lot of wind at its back, and then it falls apart when the earnings come out. But we were playing this one into earnings. We made money yesterday, on Friday, and it's up again today. So Oracle, ORCL was a winner. Emily was a winner.
Certainly good enough for me, Bill. Solid play there, spot on with the entry and taking advantage of a nice boost in that one. We will check in with you tomorrow about today's sale point pick of the day. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here tomorrow and each weekday morning this week at NewsWare's Trade Talk when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Advani, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.